The 1970s saw warlike tension grip Northern Ireland as the bitter conflict between the nationalist and unionist forces reached new levels of violence. From 1969, Britain sent its army to Northern Ireland to assist the local police force, the Royal Ulster Constabulary. The army maintained a constant presence there until 2007. They were initially sent to protect Catholics and were welcomed by nationalists, but the mood soon changed. In 1970, the Irish Republican Army started a guerrilla war against the British military, which lasted 27 years. Faulkner introduced internment, or the imprisonment of people without trial, in 1971. There were misgivings in London, and the initiative only led to further bloodshed.
Heath, I think, is sceptical. Internment had worked in the past when it was employed north and south in the late 50s. But the question then becomes, who did they intern? How did they get the lists? Why did they only intern Republican paramilitaries and not loyalists? And as the early 70s progress, it's clear that loyalist paramilitaries are killing large numbers of Catholics, and they appear not to be being brought to book at all.
Well, I grew up in a Northern Ireland that was deeply troubled. I lost members of my family who were murdered during the Troubles by the IRA. I remember back in the dark days of the past when you had to check under your car. As someone who had served in the security forces and was a politician, had to wear a bulletproof vest. I had to vary the places that I went to. You were always looking over your shoulder, waiting to be attacked.
On the first day in Northern Ireland, we met with Frank, who is an ex-British Army sniper, and he gave us a tour around Belfast. And as we went around Belfast and all the different areas, he would give us personal stories, and I felt like that helped us really connect the history and all the context that we learned in class. Really helped us relate to it and see the faces behind all the issues and really make it more personal. A little bit later in the trip, we also met with Jack, who was an ex-IRA member, and he did the same thing, and we went around the city and he gave us a lot of history about the different areas there. But it was so weird seeing the different sides and hearing both perspectives, and just realizing how different everyone views the history, and just realizing the conflict and the real issues.
Killing each other here from that time, and it's all about land, people and religion. Right? Because the churches are the one group here that are united together. Okay? They actually did come together, and you have come together, and I'm part of Jack's church, to say, look, that's the past, this is the future, we need young people to understand. The actual rioting in Belfast, you'll probably think it's from 1969, that's when you see it on television. Periodically, every 5, 10, 15 years, we decide to kill each other. But now, I think we've got a real chance of putting it all behind us. I think we've actually done it. And people like me have to die out. I'm the older generation, I'm the dinosaur, I'm the one who was in that photograph. It has to end with me, and that's what my hope is, okay?
While we've been in Northern Ireland, we've gotten to see a lot of the murals firsthand, and it was a really cool experience for me since I've been studying them all semester and looking at them, and I think that I kind of had a grasp on it, but then once we came here, I really got a firmer understanding in them. So we got to see some Catholic murals mainly our first day, and we saw a lot of kind of freedom-centered things, things with Nelson Mandela and people who have freed themselves and their countries from oppression, which I thought was really interesting because that's kind of how the Catholics view themselves in this situation. And then we've been seeing a fair amount of Protestant things as well, and those are really kind of military based, and they have a lot of, both sides have a lot of symbolism within them. So the Protestants have a lot of poppies and the red hand and a lot of soldiers and military type things in there. And it's been really interesting to see like the transformation, because a lot of these really challenging and like difficult murals have ended up like being painted over, and in place of them have come like these really more friendly and like peaceful murals, which I thought was really interesting. And the people in San Diego were saying that the community itself was kind of like pushing for that, and that they really believed that with this change in like murals and like change in focus from like the hard times of the Troubles to like a more peaceful time, that will like really reflect within the murals.
The whole idea of storytelling, because everybody in Northern Ireland has a story, and many people don't get the opportunity to hear the very diverse narratives that are out there. And we all hear and know about our own truth within our own community. And it's really important that we reach out and hear other stories, and that's about helping us to change the story we tell ourselves, particularly in a conflict situation where you don't have opportunities to reach out or have access to stories that are different than your own. So you build up a truth in your head, you build up notions and perceptions, and it's really important that we start to break down those barriers about the other. And in a conflict situation where it's often fueled by fear, it's really good for people to actually exchange what has been happening to them and what it means to them to be human, but also connecting at the human level that goes beyond the labels, the culture, the identity that we align ourselves with, and hear people as human beings and rehumanize those that we perceive as the enemy.
We work by agreement, as you saw. So part of the agreement was we'd listen actively, with respect and without judgment. And if we implement those behaviours, then it's likely that people will feel safer and more willing to share their story. And safety is particularly important given the conflict. Given that people were setting out to hurt each other, to kill each other, to bomb each other, that we're looking to create these alternative spaces where stories from diverse backgrounds might be heard. And out of that hearing could come hopefully a different understanding, and maybe even some healing. Healing being, I guess, maybe a sense, as Nadine spoke about letting go. So if we're living in a getaway society, in a diverse storytelling situation, people from different backgrounds meeting each other, sharing, release, and maybe a move towards different attitudes and different behaviours and breaking down of segregation. That is the ideal, if we could break that down.
One of the activities I thought was most impactful was the activity we did with the crystals, in which we chose specific crystals according to either color or shape or size that spoke to us, and we assigned them either a memory or an event or a person, and then we split up into groups, and with each group we laid out our crystals and we told everyone like our stories. And the cool thing was that you could tell as much as you want or nothing at all, so it was a really interesting way to like connect with the members of your group and like open up about things that have happened to you, about memories that you've had or events that have happened. And it actually like brought each group together and like created like a whole community. We were really lucky to have gotten the opportunity because it's actually something that the Junction does with members of the community in order to try and build peace within the conflict. So with the crystals, members of the community are able to come and share their grievances and their concerns through the crystals, and the crystals become a sort of object of reference because you're able to release all of your struggles and your pain or your happiness into these crystals. So it's a way to release all your own like inner feelings in a safe space. And the Junction has found that it's actually been really helpful in creating peace within the community because it allows members to come and congregate and try and communicate in a safe place that allows them to voice their own opinions and their experiences.
My name is Glenda Davis. I'm the Development Manager for Sandy Road Community Forum. Sandy Road Community Forum is an organisation based in Belfast, South Belfast. We are a grassroots neighbourhood based organisation, and we would do a lot of campaigning and organising, and advocacy work for the area, and our mission statement would be that by 2030 Sandy Row would be a place where people know that they matter and that there are jobs, people want to come live, work and invest here. It's quite a challenging place to work in terms of some of the issues that are faced by people who live here. There would be a lot of issues in terms of coming out of an area, coming out of conflict, and some difficulties in and around the community. But the best thing that I love about working here is the people, and that it's kind of like a hidden gem in the middle of the city. It's a really tight community that has a really good story to tell, and the people are just great, and we would really encourage people to come and see it. And that's part of the reason why we've developed a social enterprise, which is a tourism business. It's run by 3 young men from the local marching band, and they offer the tours for tourists and for people from Northern Ireland to kind of come and see and hear their story.
So this week we've spent a lot of time with Sandy Row Community Centre. Sandy Row is an area of Belfast which is predominantly Protestant, and the Sandy Row Community Centre works to bring this community together and work to build this community from something that's kind of known as a bad part of town to really something that is a flourishing community. And they're doing that so successfully under the work of Glenda and many other people. So we were really lucky to join them through Stormont and City Hall and working on a project with Building on Belonging, and it's been really fantastic. They touch so many parts of people's lives. They have a drum program for the youth, which seeks to give them kind of a place to grow up outside of the troubles that are in their neighborhood. They host dinners, and they're recently starting a project that has local men in the community who have grown up there put together a tour. So we were actually able to be one of the first people to see this tour, and 3 men, Jonathan, Gary, and Paul, took us along and showed us where they were from and all the really incredible parts of their city. So it was really just fantastic, and to be able to see this work come alive was just life-changing, and I can't wait to see what they continue to do and how that Sandy Row community continues to grow through the work of this community center.
We as a group all met with students at Queen University, and it was honestly one of my probably favorite experiences. We all got a chance to ask them questions, which was really interesting because they had a lot to say on each of our topics, and we all had these peace initiatives. And when it came to my turn, I asked about my personal peace initiative, which is integrated education, and I just asked the students if they would sort of recount their experiences growing up with either the integrated education system or outside of it. And immediately that sort of struck up a lot of controversy, and a lot of students expressed that they felt the system just simply didn't work, that both sides could not meet in one space and learn in one space because they each have their own separate histories. And a lot of other people actually expressed that they thought it could work, and they just think that at the moment it is not working.
Aware. Eye-opening.
Opportunity.
Informed. Happy.
Enthusiastic.
Peaceful. Blessed. Encouraged. Inspired. Fulfilled.
Empowered.
Hopeful.